Hey everyone, it is Dani and welcome to this update video. I hope that you guys are doing really wonderful this morning, and so I'm here with the latest on Tropical Storm BRET as well as Invest 93L. So we'll be talking about both of these in this update. And so before I go into details, please do subscribe if you haven't yet done so and tap the bell so that you never miss an important update. And again, a reminder to go on over to Weather Extras as well, because I'll be posting additional information there throughout the day if there is the need. And so now let's go ahead and take a look at what is going on across the Atlantic. And so at a wide view here, we can see that we've got BRET pretty noticeable as it approaches the Lesser Antilles slowly but surely. And then behind it, we have Invest 93L. But take a look at the coast of Africa. There we see another strong tropical wave that is going to be making its way off. And some models were hinting at a third potential system. So they were expecting that, hey, we could see BRET developing. BRET is here. 93L is likely to develop. As a matter of fact, the chance has risen for it to become a cyclone. And they were also expecting that there could be another system. And so the next two names to be used are Cindy and Dawn. So let's now talk a bit about what is happening across the Caribbean and surrounding areas. So here we can see that there isn't too much happening right now. A bit of activity remaining off the coast of Honduras and sections of Nicaragua. We also see some activity down in parts of Panama and Costa Rica, but overall there isn't much happening across the region right now. The Lesser Antilles is looking pretty clear. Beautiful sunshine across most islands this morning. Going to the Greater Antilles, there's a bit of cloud cover in sections of Jamaica, Cuba, and also Hispaniola, even extended into sections of the Bahamas. But again, for most areas, it is a clear, sunny morning. Things remain pretty dry and hot in the ABC Islands. And then going down to northern South America, we see a bit of activity over sections of Venezuela, Guyana, and Suriname. And so now let's go ahead and drift out into the tropical Atlantic, where we have our two systems. And so firstly, we're going to be talking about Invest 93L. Now we're looking at the latest 7-day forecast for this system, and the chance is at a high 70%. And I really think that we should also pay attention to this system here, just because it is going to continue moving on a westward track for some time. And then, of course, it is eventually going to be making that northwestward track, but it could possibly make a close approach to the Caribbean as we're going to be heading into next week. So I'll be watching that for you guys. So by later this week, we could be looking at a depression or even another named storm. And as we look at it on satellite, though, we can see that it is pretty disorganized. We're not really seeing much rotation with it, looking at the infrared satellite. And so conditions should be conducive enough to allow for this to improve in its appearance as well as overall intensity. And so now let's go ahead and talk about BRET. So here is a close-up view of our tropical storm that is barreling towards the Lesser Antilles. And this is still expected to become a hurricane, but there are a few changes since yesterday. Let's go ahead and talk about them. So we're looking at the latest forecast cone, the cone of uncertainty here for BRET. It has shifted more to the south near the end of it. So by that time, by 2 a.m. on Sunday, the National Hurricane Center is expecting that it will be a strong tropical storm with winds of 60 miles per hour. And if it would continue on that trajectory, Jamaica would be in the path of it. But I want you guys to note that this is what is expected a couple days out from now, and so there can be many more changes between now and then. We're bound to see more adjustments in the track, and especially as we head further out, this is why we see the cone widens, because the center can pass anywhere within this zone here. So this is what is expected as of now in terms of the future of this as we're going to be heading into next week. And so for now, the maximum sustained winds remain at 40 miles per hour. also BRET hasn't strengthened much since yesterday, and it is accelerating westward at 17 miles per hour, so it's moving a little bit slower. However, as it approaches the Caribbean and makes its way in, it is expected to gradually increase in its acceleration. So we're seeing that maybe by late Wednesday, it is expected to become a hurricane, and then by Thursday, going to early Friday, it should be passing north of Barbados, but it could be so close in proximity that hurricane conditions are felt, and that is going to be dependent on the wind field. And speaking of that, watches are likely going to be initiated maybe later today for parts of the Lesser Antilles, because this is a definite threat we're talking about here. And then by Friday, it should cross into the Caribbean again, picking up in its acceleration, and it is going to be encountering some unfavorable wind shear as it approaches, which will help to inhibit any more strengthening and induce a bit of weakening. But as it makes its way toward the west, it might re-strengthen a bit, and gradual weakening is expected thereafter. So BRET is still pretty far out, and there can be many changes with this track. As I said, there are bound to be more adjustments with it. And so now we want to go ahead and take a look at what the models have to show in terms of the track guidance. And so here we have the majority, just that one, expecting that this is going to be curving out once it enters the Caribbean. But all other models are now in agreement that, hey, this is going to be on a westward track for the most part. So we see them also getting a lot tighter, which means that they're in some sort of a better agreement compared to a couple days ago. So the possibility is certainly there for this to make its way to the Central Caribbean, possibly bringing impacts to Jamaica if it is still intact, because even looking at the model runs, a lot of models are expecting that this could disintegrate completely, and it's really just the remnants that would be making their way through. But in terms of the intensity guidance here, models are now backing off from this becoming a hurricane. So we see that most of them are expecting that this will remain a tropical storm. 2 are showing that, hey, this will still make it to a Hurricane 1, expecting a Cat 3. And this is the HWFI model. And if we should look back at the tracks, this is the one showing that it's going to be curving out. And in the case where it actually strengthens a lot, that is what would happen. But a weaker system would continue toward the west. And so let's take a look at conditions ahead of the system here in terms of the wind shear and the sea surface temperature. So as I mentioned yesterday, there's that area of very warm water just before we go to the Lesser Antilles, that 29 degrees Celsius isotherm. Now that is going to be helping to fuel BRET, but at the same time, the wind shear is going to be a problem for it, because even though we're having this activity fueling the cyclone, as those thunderstorms grow, what happens is that those stronger upper level winds will just cut off those developing thunderstorms, helping to prevent further intensification of the system. So that is the effect of the wind shear when it is pretty strong. And so that is what is expected to happen with BRET as it approaches. It's going to be encountering some of those unfavorable upper level winds. Also, some more dry air is up ahead for it. So major intensification is not anticipated at this time. Even if it is slightly weaker than expected, there are still going to be those very strong winds, that storm surge, as well as the heavy rainfall that will likely unleash flooding across some areas. And so I'll continue to keep you guys posted as per usual, and you can share my channel as well to keep others updated. So that is pretty much it for right now, and I hope that you found this video to be quite informative. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I will try to respond as best and as soon as I can. And remember to always be weatherwise.